Well, I'm sorry, the Pope shouldn't talk about matters of theology? Isn't that exactly who should be discussing it?
I think he's torpedoing his 2028 chances by picking a fight. Hi, everyone. This is Pivot from New York Magazine and the Vox Media Podcast Network. I'm Kara Swisher.
And I'm Scott Galloway.
How's it going, Scott?
Just so well, Kara.
Let's do a rundown of the latest with Iran. President Trump says the war is very close to over. Again, as we tape this, Iranian officials and Pakistan's military chief are set to meet in Tehran to discuss messages exchanged by Iran and the U.S. Meanwhile, Iran's military has threatened shipping in the Red Sea if the U.S. continues its blockade of Iranian ports.
Let me just piss off everybody. I think that the U.S. threatening to fully block the Strait of Hormuz is the right move right now.
Many people do.
Because freedom of navigation for the last 150 years has been a key component of the global economy. It's a generally accepted principle that the Strait of Malacca, the Straits of Singapore, if Indonesia, Malaysia, and Singapore decide one day to exert their geopolitical power and get tens of billions of dollars, that they could block the strait. Egypt could block the Suez Canal. And so if there isn't a multilateral force that keeps this thing open, it just sets a terrible precedent. Now, how we got here, I think a lot of people have very valid arguments around, well, we broke it, now we're asking the world to fix it. But I think it's actually a good strategy to say, okay, if you want the straits blocked, we're going to make them blocked for everyone, including all entry into Iranian ports, which I think is the right move. What is really unusual about all of this, and I know we're going to get to this, is that the markets are up.
Yeah, they are.
Which is just, it fully seems like the markets have totally dislocated.
The S&P is up 2.8% at the time of this taping. Just they are going up because they feel that there'll be some opening of the Hormuz, correct? I mean, or as Scott Besson call it, the Strait of Vermouth. But go ahead.
There's a few things happening. One, I've said this for a while. I think the NASDAQ and the Dow are the two most damaging metrics in the world because they give people a false sense of the prosperity and well-being in the world. And the reality is America is energy independent. And so there's actually some stocks that are up 20 to 40% in the oil sector. So it's not a defense risk to us. The markets seem to be saying that the war will at some point be resolved sooner rather than later and that the oil flow through Hormuz will begin again. You also have this unusual situation where in the last three major conflicts the U.S. was involved in, or three exogenous shocks, the Gulf War, the Iraq War, and COVID, what ended up happening was the markets were way down. And initially in March, at the outset of the war, the markets declined 10%. But in each instance, there's been a rip back. And the following year, the stocks are up. So people have been buying the dip. And basically what's happened now is people buy the dip sooner and the markets recover based on a historical pattern of the market surging.
But it's still a mess there, a mess created by Trump that was unnecessary, right? The way he's doing, the way he's conducting.
No, that's a political statement. And I you can agree or not agree. I'm just talking about with the markets. The markets have totally disassociated.
They have.
Here.
And I think, Stephanie Ruhle actually had a really good take on this week where she was talking about why they're like this. And they just feel they're just trading. That's what she said, the ups and downs. They don't care about anything else. They just have watched the historical behavior around this.
But also look who this is hurting. Gas is up. Gas prices are, Brent crude is up. The European benchmark's up 32%. The price of gasoline in America is up 36%. Brent oil futures are up 31%. But let's be honest, who does this hurt? It hurts the lower half of America. Oil prices don't really impact you or me, Kara.
Well,
and the reality is 10% of the top decile of American citizens are now responsible for 50% of consumer spending. They own 90% of the stocks. Do they care that gas is at $6? I mean, it's an interesting media headline. But the reality is the stock market is now a proxy for companies that are mostly invested in technology and some oil companies. You could argue some consumer companies will get hurt because consumers will spend less. But wealthy people just aren't affected by this.
I'm going to interview one of the things. I interviewed Jose Andres this week at the Semaphore column, and he was talking about fertilizer prices and how people across the world eat hand to mouth. And he was noting that. He said, you and I, it'll be irritating to pay $4, $5, $6 at the gas station. And it will hurt us, but not in the way it hurts people around the world. And also fertilizer prices for farmers in the Midwest. And added to the tariffs with Canada. The United States primarily imports fertilizer from Canada and I think Russia. Anyway, we have an issue with everybody else. And so the stock market doesn't reflect people's lived experiences, right? So
that's exactly right.
So one of the things that House Democrats are doing, now you told them to act, and I don't know if you think this is a thing to do, but they just filed 6 articles of impeachment against Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. I think they're getting ready as Rahm Emanuel has started to make some moves, high crimes and misdemeanors related to Iran. And by the way, Hegseth, I must note, he read a fake Bible quote from Pulp Fiction during a prayer service at the Pentagon on Wednesday.
Fiction, yeah. It's
beyond political. It's now economic for most people. It doesn't get missed in all this, but it has a real impact, including this beef with the Pope. Let's listen to a clip. Now J.D. Vance has entered the conversation.
But I think that it's important, in the same way that it's important for the Vice President of the United States to be careful when I talk about matters of public policy, I think it's very, very important for the Pope to be careful when he talks about matters of theology.
Yeah, peace is a really big thing in Catholicism.
Well, I'm sorry, the Pope shouldn't talk about matters of theology?
He has to be careful.
Isn't that exactly who should be discussing
He should be careful,
it?
even though he's a very well-regarded theologian. But J.D. Vance has some words for him. I think he's torpedoing his 2028 chances by picking a fight. I just don't understand.
He is trading off. He's decided still that he needs to be such an acolyte. This is a politically stupid move for him. Because evangelicals are actually swing voters. They were sort of a toss-up with Biden, and then they went hard for Trump. If he doesn't get evangelicals, he's not going to be the nominee. And he's clearly decided that it makes more sense. I mean, I don't get this at all, because if he were to come out and say those comments, while I respect what Trump said, I feel like the Pope's comments were ill-timed, I still have an issue and I will not be critical. Or if he came out slightly against Trump might be furious at him. Trump's not going to dump his VP at this point. And J.D. Vance needs evangelicals. I mean, this was just a really stupid thing. And also, just because I think it's important to be as offensive as possible and convince people that I am not, in fact, running for president. You know how a little boy saved a priest's life.
Oh, no. We're not doing.
Okay, never mind. I'm sorry. I won't do it. I respect you. I got a picture of you behind me.
Okay.
Never mind. Let's move on. He found a lump on his scrotum. No. He found a lump on his scrotum. Cop pulls over 2 priests and says, "We're looking for 2 child molesters." And the priests look at each other and then look to the cop and say, "We'll do it."
Oh, my God. Okay. We're not insulting the Catholic Church right now because Trump is doing so. I know it's a joke about Pete Hegseth quoting from Pulp Fiction. He probably did an AI search and thought it was that, right? That's my guess. That's probably what happened. One of his dumb minions added it in. It's a fake Bible verse. These people are so performatively religious is my issue. Like they don't even read the Bible. They just quote from Pulp Fiction because they don't know the difference. And if you're actually someone who's really religious, you do know the difference. And with the vice president, he just literally, let me just take one more point. The Pope is an American citizen. He should be able to say what he wants, by the way. He remains I assume he remains an American citizen. Despite
Villanova.
Being a pope. But he doesn't lose those First Amendment rights.
Very impressive guy.
But he's talking about peace. He's talking about tyrants. He's talking about everything Jesus talked about.
He's very good.
Everything.
Yeah.
And
good.
Solidifying his
power. But more importantly, what do you get when 500 Jewish mothers convert to Catholicism, Kara? You get critical mass.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
Get it? Critical mass. I think that's pretty good.
Right. We're going to move on. This is really disastrous, this fight with the Pope. The Pope is going to win, kids.
Oh, yeah. No, don't go up against El Papa, especially this Papa. He's very good.
Oh, man. I even want to go in the church. That's how good Papa it is. I'm going back.
You're going to go to one of those crazy Unitarian churches with some lady with blue hair.
Yeah. No, I don't like Unitarian. Because
baptizing.
I don't like
baptizing support or rescue dogs. You'll end up
I
with
won't.
One of those
I don't like
churches.
those. Megan,
or go to Glide next time in San Francisco.
I love Glide. It's
That's
a wonderful
awesome.
church. It's a wonderful church.
Yeah, they do.
I don't like Unitarian churches. My ex-wife took me to one when we were married, and I was like, "Do they stand for anything?" Like, for some reason, the Catholic in me got going, and I was like,
"They're too politically correct
they
for
were
you."
Like, it was like everything. They believed everything, and I listen. I have a lot of respect for all religions, but I had to leave. I was really
there's your land acknowledgement. I don't. I believe some religions are worse than others.
They're
Let me just say
people.
that. I just want to I got interrupted by my poorly timed jokes. I just want to go back to the notion of trying to do an impeachment or begin impeachment proceedings of Hegseth. I think that's stupid. I think if we've learned, or one thing we should have learned as Democrats, is that unless you have the votes lined up, you don't do it. It comes across.
But I thought you said for them to signal what they're going to do. Isn't that kind of signaling what they're going to do?
No, in my view, this is what they do. An impeachment nostalgia tour, the Democrats don't need again. At this point, it wouldn't work. I'm all for impeaching the president at this point and the Secretary of Defense. You don't do it until you know the votes are locked. You announce it and then start the vote the next day. Otherwise, it's just performative and pisses off the other side and is a waste of time. This is what you do. You announce legitimate legal action and coordination with a state AG to go after certain individuals who have committed actual crimes, and there's a lot of them in this administration. This is performative, it's political, and we're going to, again, look stupid.
Okay. All right, the Democrats still suck, according to you.
Sorry.
But what do you think about the Powell situation? Because this seems like another self-own here. Tillis is not, trust me, Tillis is not backing down. Like, just FYI. Anyway, I'm going to move on because the chaos follows Trump wherever he goes. He's back to his Jerome Powell fight. He's like an old man who forgot he was fighting with someone and then remembered. He said if he doesn't step down next month, he's going to fire him, like even though he has more time on the board, and also says the DOJ probe of Powell and the Fed should continue. Powell's Fed chair term officially ends on May 15th. His term as Fed governor is up in 2028. Usually they leave when they finish their chair, but he doesn't have to. And he plans to stay on as acting chair until his successor, Kevin Warsh, is confirmed. Powell says that's what the law calls for. Warsh's confirmation hearing is scheduled for next week, but Senator Tom Tillis, who I interviewed, as said, confirmed again he won't confirm him until the DOJ probe is resolved. All this from the prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro's office showed up at the Fed this week trying to get a tour of the building's renovations, got turned away. She's trying hard to become Attorney General, FYI. He can't, if he fires Powell, he's in big trouble. He's going to taco this one, right?
It's three people in a room with Claude and ChatGPT, and every time the temperature in association with Epstein gets the link between Trump and Epstein and its presence in the media gets above a certain temperature, they say, throw something out and distract everybody. And this is just another one because I don't even think he legally has the right to remove Powell from the Board of Governors. So his term doesn't end until January 2028. So this is just, again, I believe he knows, and his people have said, I mean, there's two things that are going on. Either Grandpa just says shit as he's thinking it, and maybe that's true, or if you give him more credit than that, it's another attempt to distract from Epstein. I don't want to say I feel bad for Kevin Warsh, but his entire hearing is going to be about Jerome Powell, not about Kevin Warsh. And what I've said before is that as long as Powell is on the Board of Governors, he's the de facto chair because anything he says, 11 of the 12 governors are going to nod their heads.
Which is why Trump wants him gone. Which is why Trump wants him removed.
That's exactly right. But he does not have the power to do this. And you are going to have several Republican senators find their testicles and come out in favor of Chairman Powell remaining on the Board of Governors. But I think Trump knows that and just today said, I need something to keep Epstein out of the news.
Or the war.
I'll go after Powell again today.
Or Pulp Fiction,
Yeah, my favorite is they're going to start talking about Epstein to distract from Iran.
They're not going to fire Powell. They're just not. Okay, Scott, let's go on a quick break. And when we come back, Amazon makes a big acquisition. Support for this show comes from Quince. If you're participating in a time-honored tradition of cleaning out your closet this spring, you might want to consider replacing some of those old clothes with high-quality pieces from Quince. Quince makes stylish, everyday clothing using premium materials like 100% European linen, organic cotton, and super soft denim with styles starting around $50. Their spring pieces are lightweight, breathable, and effortless, the kind you can throw on and instantly look put together. And they work directly with top factories, cutting out the cost of the middleman. So you're not paying for a brand markup, just quality clothing. I have just gotten a bunch of new Quince pieces. I usually get soft pants and comfortable things, but I just got a cardigan, I got a pair of jeans, and they're incredible. They're incredibly soft and look great and actually look more expensive than they cost me. They also have a lot of seasonal colors and prints for spring that'll make getting dressed a breeze. Refresh your wardrobe with Quince. Right now, go to quince.com/pivot for free shipping and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada, too. Go to quince.com/pivot for free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/pivot. Support for this show comes from Mint Mobile. We all like to have money. It's what pays for the bills, lets us do fun things, and feeds our families. Unfortunately, big wireless companies also like to have our money. So much so that they come up with all kinds of bogus fees and free perks that actually cost more in the long term. But Mint Mobile says they're a different kind of wireless provider. Mint Mobile offers a premium wireless phone plan for just $15 a month, and all of their plans come with high-speed 5G data and unlimited talk and text. You don't need to bother getting a new phone or number or enter into some long-term contract. Just activate online in minutes and start saving immediately. That means no more expensive monthly phone bill riddled with unexpected fees. Get 3 months of premium wireless service from Mint Mobile for just $15 a month. If you like money, Mint Mobile is for you. Shop plans at mintmobile.com/pivot. That's mintmobile.com/pivot. Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, 5 gigabyte plan required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customer offer for first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Amazon is acquiring a satellite operator, Globalstar, in a deal worth around $11.5 billion as it tries to catch up to SpaceX Starlink. Under the agreement, Amazon gets Globalstar's existing satellites and infrastructure, which will operate alongside Amazon's own network, now called LEO, as after the Pope, I guess. Amazon says the deal will enable it to build direct-to-device satellite system with a rollout expected in 2028. FCC Chairman Brandon Carr says his agency is very open-minded to the deal, and the FCC is taking all gas, no brakes approach to expanding the U.S. space economy. He kind of has to talk about this because obviously Amazon isn't going away, and they're trying to solidify this network for themselves to be at least the number 2 player here.
My big stock pick for 2025 was Alphabet. We got that one right. My big tech stock pick for 26 is Amazon. This is what I think Amazon is going to do. They are going to build a viable competitor to Starlink using Kuiper as a platform, and this is another
step
in that. They get, Project Leo. They bought 24 satellites here. And it's never been profitable, but Amazon closed up 3%. And this is what I think Amazon's strategy is. Amazon's going to launch a phone, and then they're going to offer Amazon Prime Plus, which will offer you a phone and lightning fast connectivity into your home. They're going after AT&T, Verizon, and Comcast, and basically going to offer you connectivity with Amazon Prime. And they need the satellites to do this. So why would they buy a non-profitable satellite company? Again, see above 24 satellites. They get spectrum, they get radio waves, the wireless signals, including Wi-Fi travel on. The government owns these and issues specific licenses for them, but spectrum is auctioned off by the FCC and extremely expensive, so they get that. They could do, for B2C, again, Amazon price, they could sell Wi-Fi to Prime subscribers. B2B, they could sell private wireless networks to serve its warehouses, delivery hubs, robots, drones. Robots and drones need this connectivity to communicate wirelessly constantly, and it's much easier if it's cost efficient if Amazon has its own network.
Yeah, so it's a strong number 2.
This is essentially an extension.
Create a strong number 2.
This is
presumably.
This is essentially what Amazon is. It's the strongest infrastructure company in the world. It's an extension of their investment in the logistics network. And right now, Project Leo has 240 operational satellites. It plans to ramp up its network by deploying 3,200 in Earth's low orbit by 2029. Starlink has over 10,000. This is definitely catch up. But Amazon has 115 million homes to offer this service to overnight.
The relationship with consumers, right? So you have to go out and buy Starlink, and people do love it. I have to say, oddly enough, Jose Andres, who has a huge beef with
Great
Musk
product.
over USAID, saying he's killing people. He said Starlink is critical to our world central kitchen operations, and I think he would like an alternative. But he definitely said it's really a shame. I wish that Elon was around and not this other one, which is hugely damaging to their efforts across the world feeding people. But between that fertilizer and that, like the cuts at USAID, they're facing a huge uphill battle against hunger across the world. But one of the things that's happening here is you get this is what's happened with Tesla. This is what happened. There's going to be number twos. Now, will it have an impact on the SpaceX IPO? I doubt it. I think it's going to be it's going to run. Oddly enough, interestingly enough, Google is a big owner of it, of the SpaceX IPO. They're going to make many commas of money from this deal. So that'll be an interesting thing, because many years ago, Yahoo owned a big piece of Google. I don't know if you remember in the beginning, and that's what saved them for a while, having that investment in Google that they made. And now, in this case, Google's going to make a lot of money from these SpaceX. But I don't think the SpaceX IPO will be damaged in any way, correct? From your perspective?
No, it's arguably one of the strongest brands in the world right now, and people are excited about it. It'll go out wildly overpriced. I think it'll get a slight bump. It'll be the biggest IPO of 26. The best IPO of 26 will be Anthropic, which will get out ahead of OpenAI because it has more momentum. But it's going to be, again, if you look at SpaceX, I think $18 billion in revenue, $6 billion in profits. So when it's going out at 100 times revenue, it's growing 24% a year. When Google went public, it was growing 240% a year and trading at 10 times revenues. So SpaceX, incredible company. The most overvalued IPO in history? The answer is yes.
And I think it's great
it's just insane.
There's more satellite efforts like this. There has to be at least 2 or 3. I mean, there's not going to be more than that, by the way, because the costs are so huge, but it's good for having run for their money. Speaking of OpenAI and Anthropic, OpenAI is distancing itself from Microsoft and cozying up to Amazon, which is interesting. In a memo sent to staff, OpenAI's revenue chief, Denise Dresser, said that Microsoft partnership has limited the company's ability to meet enterprises where they are. No shit. On the other hand, Dresser said the company's Amazon deal has generated, frankly, staggering demand. Dresser also used the memo to go after Anthropic, accusing the rival of building its strategy on, quote, fear, restriction, and the idea that a small group of elites should control AI, which is interesting to say. Obviously, they're trying to hurt Anthropic in the race to an IPO. They're throwing Microsoft under the bus. Speaking of Anthropic news, the company has recently received multiple offers from VCs to invest at valuations as high as $800 billion. And Anthropic has briefed the Trump administration about its new Mythos model, which is not being released to the public, as we talked about last week, due to its alleged cybersecurity capabilities. Interestingly, Bezos-owned Washington Post said that efforts by the Pentagon to thwart Anthropic are stupid, which was interesting this week. They're fighting it out in court. I suspect the Trump administration is going to start dropping that soon enough.
Anthropic has more momentum than any company in the world right now. It's gone at the end of 2025, which wasn't that long ago. Its ARR was $9 billion. It's now $30 billion. It's more than tripled its annual recurring revenue in 4 months. And by the way, OpenAI's is $25 billion. So the little engine that was, kind of an afterthought to OpenAI just 12, 18 months ago is now a bigger business than OpenAI. And this is the first time that Anthropic has led on revenue, and it's growing faster. And not only that, it's a better business because that growth is almost exclusively enterprise driven, which is a better business.
So what is OpenAI doing here by release? They released the memo. Let's not pretend that this is what they were doing. What's the message?
This has become Coke versus Pepsi, and I think it feels desperate.
I do too.
They're trying to weaponize the government against them. They're trying to shitpost them. These guys hate each other. It's the Hatfields versus the McCoys, and Anthropic has 1,000 customers paying over $1 million a year. That's up from just 500 in February. The number of customers spending over $1 million a year has doubled.
So they don't seem to care about the Pentagon thing at all. You had thought they might, but it looks like they don't.
The numbers here, let me give you some more data. 80% of Anthropic's revenues come from business clients. who quite frankly are just more reliable and less margin sensitive than consumers, versus 40% at OpenAI. 70% of every incremental dollar spent on AI coming from the enterprise is going to Anthropic. They raised $30 billion in their Series G at a $380 billion valuation, which is ridiculously low compared to the $850 billion valuation that OpenAI did, guaranteeing a 17% return, which could crush previous investors if they have to go out lower than that. They also said, both companies are exploring an IPO this year, and Anthropic projects positive free cash flow by 2027. OpenAI is said they're going to break even in 2030. But the bottom line is, Dario Amodei is just showing himself to be a much more competent CEO.
Let me ask you a question. This focus on consumer.
Yeah.
Here's what I see. OpenAI definitely focused on consumer and being like Kleenex or Google, right? That was what they were going for. The one that everyone thinks of. ChatGPT is AI, right? For everybody, essentially, not Claude. ChatGPT is Kleenex, right? Or Claude or Google or whatever, the representative of everything. Mm-hmm. So they relied on the consumers. Then they have Sam Altman starts to get a very bad consumer reputation. So up to and including people attacking his home, right, which is heinous. They have relied on consumer relationships, which are very easy to break, right? Suddenly you become the bad guy. And I think that's one of the things. But bear hugging Amazon and pushing away Microsoft, what is that? If you're in the room, what do you think the strategy is?
The honest truth is, I don't know. My guess is there's some ego involved here and some dynamics behind the scenes that I just don't understand. But let me be clear. It's not easy to build a consumer brand. It can be very powerful. I'm not suggesting – I'm biased because all my businesses have always been B2B. And the one business I did, B2C, Red Envelope, was just so much fucking harder that I found than building a B2B business. Now, what I think the dynamic here is the following. The reason why Anthropic – is going to be worth more and get to the IPO starting line faster than OpenAI as an enterprise dominant business as opposed to a consumer business of OpenAI. It's not necessarily that one is much better than the other, but here's the difference in terms of competitive dynamics. You can get, as a consumer, a really outstanding LLM and AI for free. If you're a company, if you're Clorox looking for a $3 million enterprise-wide LLM AI offering, there's no free alternative. So in sum, the substitutes on the consumer level are just much greater than the substitutes at an enterprise level, which says to me, whoever dominates enterprise has just a much better business. Also, with just a duopoly, if one is perceived as better, which right now Anthropic is perceived as better in the enterprises are much less consumer sensitive because if they're going to implement technical debt, they don't care if it's 30% more expensive.
But was it a mistake? Is it a mistake to then say we didn't get in the enterprise fast enough due to Microsoft, which may in fact be the case, and now we're going to hug Amazon?
That makes no fucking sense.
Why do it?
You're going to piss off.
Why are they doing it?
You're going to piss off one of the most important, measured, thoughtful people in tech, Satya Nadella. That just makes no sense. That's not
when you were in trouble.
Yeah, and it shows that you're not getting along with it. You have these fights behind the scenes. You don't say that publicly. That you don't get into a war with Microsoft.
But one of the things they have to do is they have a problem with their image. Because they're the face of AI, they're the face of AI, right? Well, Dario looks like a hero from a marketing point of view at the very least. And so that's, I think, the real problem is Sam Altman represents AI, which everybody is hating on, like young people, all the polls, everybody has a problem with it. And when the problem shows, you look at someone like Sam Altman and not Dario. Dario's not getting the kind of hatred that Altman is getting now, which I think is a problem. But why hug Amazon too?
Because Amazon is executing against infrastructure like no one's business. And if you want to, arguably Amazon from an enterprise level is the most discerning consumer in the world. And Amazon is the best infrastructure company in the world. But I think there's some ego here. I think someone got pissed off at someone, but you don't get into a public tiff with Microsoft. By the way, just in terms of stocks, Microsoft as a multiple of free cash flow is cheaper than it's ever been. I think Microsoft's a really good buy right now. But look, the Anthropic has so much momentum right now, and OpenAI does not. Do you get this? Kalshi is saying the odds of Sam Altman being replaced as CEO are up to 27%. I mean, for the first time, Sam Altman being replaced by the end of the year is a real possibility because OpenAI, public tiffs with Microsoft, who was supposed to be your partner in this, throwing up, totally shitting the bed in the enterprise market, all this negative PR and press. I mean, and there's just no getting around it. Anthropic is worth more than OpenAI right now. And so I think I think they were smart to be focused. They're going to do away with that ridiculous fucking nonsense from IO. That was the stupidest acquisition of 24, whatever it was. That's going to be a $6 billion write-off. They're smart to stay focused, but this is a tale of two cities, and one city is skyrocketing, and that's Anthropic, and the other is burning up on reentry, and that's OpenAI.
But the posturing is important, right? So Altman is fighting with Musk on that case, which is going to be it's going to trial, it looks like, this case. So that's going to bring unnecessary, no matter what, Elon fights, with a lot of swords. So it doesn't, he'll land some blows, even if and make them look bad. He will, even if he doesn't care because he's like the villain. So it's fine if he makes other people look like a villain. I mean, from a public perspective, they're also, it's not just Altman. It's like someone like Chris Lahane, who I find very aggressive, right? And this is a very aggressive group of people that sounds like they're not getting along internally. You sort of feel rumbles of that. The mistakes of not embracing enterprise and going full scale into popularity. Now, I agree they shouldn't be fighting with Microsoft, but they made the mistake, and now they're blaming their partner for that, right? The ability to meet enterprises where they are, because they're actually
they look like they're
competing
flailing
with Microsoft.
They look
they
like
are
they're just
competitors
right now
in that space. So anyway,
but what's to be gained? What's to be gained by shitposting Microsoft in public? What do they get?
Just to say we're serious about we're going to really compete in the enterprise. Now we're serious. I don't know. I don't understand this memo whatsoever.
But what enterprise is going to hire OpenAI because they've been critical of Microsoft? I absolutely don't get it. These people have egos. Satya Nadella doesn't need Sam. I mean, Microsoft could write off its investment in OpenAI. Quite frankly, the market has already done that. The market has taken Microsoft's stock down, I don't know, 20 or 25% in the last 6 months. The trouble in Mudville has already been perceived by the market with respect to Microsoft's playing in traffic with OpenAI, and that their investment in OpenAI may not end up being, the kicker and the afterburner everyone
and then
thought
Amazon
it was.
got in.
And a guy like Satya...
Go ahead. Amazon got in at better rates, essentially, but go ahead.
And a guy like Satya Nadella doesn't scare easily. I absolutely don't understand who approved this public spat and it says to me that OpenAI does not have a board that would say, "Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's get in a war with Microsoft." And I think ego here. Someone got pissed off at something.
Going after Anthropic as being fair restriction idea this small is just sort of so backward looking. Just to when you start attacking the number two, there's something going on. Especially, I think they were trying to get reporters interested in this run rate and inflation of revenues, which, by the way, no one really cares about with these companies at this point. They want to know who the leader is going to be. Anyway, they should care, but they don't. It's just a dump.
There's a general crucible rule, fundamental truth in branding and marketing is that when you're the market leader or you want to be perceived as the market leader, which I think OpenAI would say, we are the leader and we want to be perceived as the market leader, you never reference the competition. You don't. You just never. Visa was a client of mine back in my brand strategy days at Profit. And I said, why wouldn't you talk about this versus MasterCard? And he goes, we're the market leader. We never reference the competition. When you reference the competition, you're immediately saying they're a competitor. And when you're the market leader, what you want to say is we have no. Coke never referenced Pepsi. Coke never did a taste test. They're like, we don't even, as far as we're concerned, Pepsi doesn't exist because we're fucking Coca-Cola.
I used to do when they were talking about competitors. I'm like, who? I'd do things like I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Like I would. It's on purpose.
Yeah, I don't. The best. I don't do that.
I do. I'm always like, Scott?
Again, I'll try and draw this.
Scott.
Who's that? Who's that? What? I think someone said he has a picture of me
he's a little obsessed.
behind him on his podcast. The personal learning here is the following, or what I've finally come to peace with. When people shitpost you or criticize you online, the best revenge, hands down, indifference. Just indifference.
You've gotten good on that. Remember, you used to get mad at certain people attacking you. You get all...
Well, I wasn't used to it. I used to be this cute professor that everyone said nice things about. And then when I got big because of you, people started actually looking at my shit and saying, this makes no sense. And I would get upset. Yeah. Anyway, I'm fine now. And then I discovered edibles.
Anyway, you've gotten much better about that, I have to say. Getting off of Twitter, which you did first, I will acknowledge. I'm sorry for making that mistake last week. Anyway, another interesting story. We're going to go on a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about a potentially United American Airlines merger. Seems unlikely, but here we go. Support for this show comes from Built. The roof over your head is one of your biggest, if not the biggest, monthly expense. Whether it's rent or mortgage, it's just one of those things we all have to pay for. So why not earn something back while you do it? That's exactly how Built made a name for themselves. They started out by rewarding members on their rent. Now, as of 2026, Built members can also earn points on mortgage payments too, wherever they live. Every housing payment earns you points you can use toward trips with top-level partners like United and Hyatt. Plus, you can use them towards Lyft rides, Amazon.com purchases, and so much more. Built members can also get access to a neighborhood concierge. It can make restaurant reservations, book fitness classes, and find new local spots, all while you're being rewarded at more than 40,000 merchant partners. It's like having a personal assistant baked into where you live. It's simple. Being a renter and now owning a home can feel a whole lot better with Built. Join membership for where you live at joinbuilt.com/pivot. That's JOINBILT.com/pivot. Make sure to use our URL so they know we sent you. Support for this show comes from Harvey AI. The future of law is agentic, not just tools that assist, but AI agents that navigate complex matters. Harvey was built on legal agents that analyze, draft, and execute with precision. But great lawyers don't just complete tasks, they strategize. That's why Harvey created agents that can do the work from end to end. They build a plan, pull from secure data sources, run sub-agents in parallel, and draft the work product ready for your review. So you can delegate the work and own the judgment. Harvey agents support work across fund formation, litigation, regulatory compliance, M&A, and more, adapting to the complexity of each matter and the way your team actually works. Trusted by more than 60% of the AM Law 100 and leading Fortune 500 legal teams, Harvey is the AI operating system designed specifically for legal work, helping teams move faster with greater precision and confidence. Harvey, AI tailored for law. Learn more at harvey.ai. Scott, we're back with more headlines. The CEO of United Airlines reportedly pitched a merger with American Airlines directly to Donald Trump. Of course, the two companies combined would account for about 40% of the U.S. domestic flying capacity. Industry experts and lawmakers are already pushing back, flagging major antitrust concerns. I mean, even I know that. As one analyst puts it, the Justice Department doesn't object to that. What would they object to? Trump is staying quiet for now, with the press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, saying he has no opinion on a potential merger. I mean, I don't mind this guy trying it, but why not? It's the last days of Nero's empire here, so why not? But this seems like something that would be dead on arrival. I don't see it.
Yeah, but you summarized it perfectly, and that is the last days of Nero, and that is you're going to see in the next 2 years, you're going to see so many mergers proposed because everyone's going to go, there's no fucking way an FTC or a DOJ that is not in a deep coma would allow this. So if we're what are the, two most dominant if you're just going to see mergers like crazy because they're going to go, this is our last chance because this absolutely makes no sense from a concentration and monopoly standpoint. This should not be allowed to happen. It would create the largest airline on earth, 30 to 40% of U.S. domestic capacity. And I don't know if anyone's noticed, airline tickets are skyrocketing.
Oh, I have. I just bought some.
I was looking at a one-way from Miami to London business class, and it was $11,000.
I know, it's crazy. They're crazy.
Kirby's argument to the administration, a combined airline would be a stronger competitor internationally. Okay, yeah. He noted 2/3 of long-haul seats from U.S. are on foreign carriers, but 60% of passengers are American, framing it as a trade deficit issue. And also American, I love airlines. I love aviation. Delta does the best job domestically. JetBlue's Mint is the best product, but America has the worst product. They're the weakest of the big three. 111 million in net income last year on 54 billion in sales, basically break even. It carries 25 billion in long-term debt, more than its rivals. On the other hand, United, which is a better run company, did 3.4 billion on 59 billion. And American Airlines stock jumped nearly 10% on the news.
What does that say?
But the antitrust...
That it could happen? This can't happen.
Well,
this
people...
No way.
Well, the market thinks it might because, again, see above the guy, it's just fucking ridiculous that CEOs go kiss the ass of the president to try and get a merger through. He should have nothing to do with this. But the antitrust problems here are striking. There are 289 routes where the two carriers overlap, and combining them would leave only one or two airlines serving that route. See above, increase in prices.
They will fuck consumers so
Fortress
hard.
hubs, which overlap.
Right.
Some of the routes that overlap are Chicago, Los Angeles, New York, Newark, Phoenix, Charlotte, could require divesting entire hub operations in some cities. And the DOJ previously blocked the JetBlue Spirit deal, which was a fraction of this size. So this is exactly the kind of deal that shouldn't even be considered if there was a DOJ or an FTC that was independent and looked at consumer prices. And these consumer mergers and the lack of regulation does two things. It transfers capital from labor and from consumers to shareholders, full stop. And it's been a one-way flow of capital and power for the last 30 years. And the DOJ and FTC have almost no reviews anymore.
They can't.
I mean, it's like, if you want to save money, get rid of the DOJ and the FTC. What the fuck are they doing now?
Well, you know, it's interesting because on Monday, you're seeing the significant pushback to Paramount now. A lot of Hollywood is now like got the pitchforks out, essentially. I don't know if they can do anything about it at this point, but you see them like really organizing. At Cinecom, all these places, there's all this pushback. And again, David Ellison wouldn't show up for a hearing in Congress about this, just for personal reasons, but there's just a lot of pushback there, and you sort of see it beginning to coalesce, these ideas of no, I don't think so, which is interesting. You'll see if this happens. Like I feel like people are quite in the mood to stop these things now, and that's going to be, they're going to overreach on the other side probably. But it feels like this is like, I can't even believe this guy did this. Like, I just like, well, okay.
By the way, I feel bad saying, I need to correct the record. The DOJ and the FTC do serve a purpose. They did decide that Live Nation was a monopoly, which was the right decision.
Yeah. So we'll see. We'll see where it's going. There's a lot of pushback on all these things, but you're right. They're going to keep trying to do so as things come forward, and then we'll get to a normal level again, hopefully. One thing that's interesting, about 5 million kids have signed up for Trump accounts, 1.2 million eligible for $1,000 Treasury seed deposits. The accounts were created through Trump's Big Beautiful Bill and are set to officially launch July 4th. The Bank of New York Mellon will manage the accounts, and Robinhood will build a Trump accounts app. What do you think about Robinhood, known for getting people into risky trades involved in this? Obviously, another suck up to Trump in some fashion. But I have several friends who are just doing it. It's like $1,000 free dollars. Like, why not? Like this, why not? It seems like let's take the money and use it to save for college or whatever you want to save for kids. Any thoughts on this?
I love this concept. I remember meeting with a guy named Alex von Furstenberg a couple of years ago, and he was pitching me on the idea of baby bonds, and he was very passionate about it, and he's been very involved in it. I love the concept of, at the very outset, giving, for every infant born, giving them some money and letting compound, the most powerful force in the universe. I would have gone much deeper than this. For $40 billion a year, you could give $7,000 to every baby, and then I would totally infantilize them and not let them touch it till they're 65. You spend $40 billion a year, and then in 20 or 30 years, you announce in another 20 or 30 years, we're no longer going to need Social Security because everyone's going to have $1 million at 65. Yeah. Interest rates dive, and it pays for itself. But our Congress doesn't want to think past her than their fucking 2-inch dicks.
Is there danger here of riskiness for people's, this is free money. That's what I can, someone sheepishly said, I took a Trump account. I'm like, are you kidding? Grab it. Like, absolutely take a Trump account.
Oh, why wouldn't you?
Eligible.
So just to give you a sense of compound interest, my kid's going to college next year. When he was born, in 2000 and when was my kid born? 2007. I put $10,000 and I think it's called a 529 New York account. And I'm like, I'm worried about college. I was a clinical professor making $160,000 a year living in faculty housing. And so I thought, okay, I'll scrape together $10,000. And I didn't do it again. I was stupid. I didn't do it again. I just looked it up online because I'm like, oh, what about that 529 I did? Now, granted, the markets have ripped. Do you know what that $10,000 is worth right now?
Couple $100,000.
No, 85.
Oh, okay.
But still, in 18 years, it went from
I put
10
more in. I did them for both
85.
boys. Mm-hmm. I paid for all of college with Louis and Alex. And people have controversies around 521s. You could have done better in the market, but I just put it away and forgot about it. And I added the maximum amount to it at the time.
Yeah, but it's tax.
That's tax-free. I just was like, I didn't want to. I know I could probably do better in the market, but I don't care. I had the money. It was a certain bet.
I don't think you could have because the difference, just to explain it, if you invested $10,000 and I had 85 in the market, say I had 100, I'd have to pay capital gains on it. Whereas if you apply it towards tuition or school supplies, you don't have to pay taxes on the gains. My point is, the idea of giving kids, every baby born, a retirement account, I wouldn't let them have access to 18 or 25. The problem is, and the thing that's going to bankrupt our nation as we continue to send more and more old people who vote themselves more money, we have to reduce entitlements for old people. And this is the way to do it. And
so they're not entitlements, they're investments.
A lot of people make an argument.
So they're not entitlements, they become investments. I mean, I think the danger, obviously, is if we remove it completely, is people are, subject to whatever the vicissitudes of the market. And that's always been the worry, right? That's why it's called Social Security.
There has never been, you could buy any 5 stocks since the beginning of the markets.
I know.
You could buy any 5 stocks in the S&P, and if you hold on to them for 10 years, you've never lost money. Because of demographics and innovation, the long-term trajectory of the market. Now, there's been decades where it's gone flat, but over the long term, there's nothing like the up and to the right of the markets.
I agree. I put that money away for my kids, and I never paid a dime for college because it had been saved.
But this is
put
the
away.
flaw.
And it was all tax free. It paid for their dorms. It paid for their food. And Alex eats a lot. And it was great. And I was like,
that meal plan. Yeah, Michigan is losing money on Alex.
The very end of Louis' college thing, Alex went to a less expensive college, was just a little bit of money, but it was zero. It was the best money I ever invested, I have to say. Speaking of which, Alex Fisher turned 21. Congratulations, Alex. You're on your own.
All right, Alex.
I know. Of course, he was studying last night. I was like, Alex, go get a drink.
My guess is he's already done that.
I know.
This is the bottom line, or this is a theory you want to tap into. The most profitable businesses in the world tap into one thing, and that is a flaw in our instincts. We're desperate for affirmation. We're desperate for free gaming. We're desperate for opportunities to procreate. So we buy Ferraris, we go on Instagram, and we gamble. The highest margin products in the world tap into a flaw in our instincts. You want to reverse that and tap into the following flaw, and that is humans are really bad with respect to the time-space continuum. What do I mean by that? Because for the majority of our time on this planet, we haven't lived past 35, and now we live to 80. People have no sense of how fast time is going to go. And they say, well, the markets are up 9 to 10% a year. That's nothing. I'm not going to invest in the markets. I can make more money as a baller opening a restaurant or hoping my company goes public. You are going to graduate from college. You're going to blink. You're going to have a couple kids. You're going to have some joy. You're going to have some grief. And you're going to wake up and you're going to be fucking 60 years old. It happens so
It's great
fast.
To save money.
So this is what you want to do. You want to, at a very young age, figure out a way where you don't even get the cash in your hands. Matching programs at work, 529s, baby bonds, automatic withdrawals, and just a little bit of money from an early age. And then blink, you're 65 and you look at that account and you have a shit ton of money. This is a flaw. This is your revenge this is a way you put scaffolding on the instincts that are flawed. Anyway, start investing young.
Scott, one more quick break. We'll be back for predictions. Support for this show comes from MongoDB. If you're tired of database limitations and architectures that break when you scale, it's time to think outside the rows and columns. Because let's be honest, you didn't get to tech to babysit a broken database. You got into it to actually build something. MongoDB lets you do that. It's flexible, developer-first, ACID-compliant, enterprise-ready, and built for the AI era. Say goodbye to bottlenecks and legacy code. Start innovating with MongoDB. There's a reason it's trusted by so many of the Fortune 500, and that's because it's a platform built by developers for developers. They swear by it, literally. They call it a great fucking database. Start building at mongodb.com/build. Okay, Scott, let's hear up predictions. Is it about Allbirds now that it's an AI business? No, just move along.
Oh, I had two, and one of them
Okay,
was
go for
Allbirds. Okay, so I'll go to that one because you prompted me. My prediction was going to be Anthropic IPOs before OpenAI, but that's boring, and I've already talked about Anthropic. So I'll go to the one you suggested. The Allbirds pivot to AI will inspire a bunch of copycats. You're going to see Chegg, GameStop, Rent the Runway all decide they're AI companies. This is what's happened. Allbirds, the once hyped sneaker brand, they just sold its IP for $39 million 2 weeks ago, down from a $4 billion peak valuation.
Uncomfortable sneaker business, but go ahead.
Is rebranding as Newbird AI and pivoting to leasing AI chips, GPUs. The company is buying $50 million or secured $50 million in financing to buy GPUs and lease them to customers. And shares spiked nearly 900% at intraday highs on the announcement. So what is this going to do? Just like, remember when Bitcoin treasury companies went crazy and all these different companies decided they were now Bitcoin treasury companies? So we've seen this movie before and it doesn't end well. Long Island Iced Tea Corp rebranded as Long Blockchain in 2017 to ride the crypto wave, and its shares were eventually delisted and the SEC brought insider trading charges. Newbird, if you will, what I call Newbird, will soon be No Bird. So the prediction is the following. Allbird and this ridiculous fucking jazz hands pivot to AI that resulted in a massive one-day spike, ton of copycats, and it doesn't end well.
What does it end? How does it end?
These companies have short-term pops. The insiders who get the shares before they announce it dump the bag, and then the people who think this is anything resembling a company with enterprise value end up losing a shit ton of money. It's similar to all the blockchain, all the Bitcoin treasury companies. When you try and, it's like, remember in the early 2000s when I remember being in a board meeting at Williams-Sonoma where we seriously contemplated changing the name of the company to williamssonoma.com because we thought that would add shareholder value. And Howard Lester, who was one of like the clearest blue flame thinkers in retail, it's like, that's just fucking stupid. We're not doing that. Anyways, when you're just trying to create the illusion you're in a hot area with absolutely no domain expertise, IP, or advantage, sure, call it AI, a pop. If you're in Allbirds right now, just take it from me, sell. But you're going to see a dozen of these things announced in the next 90 days.
People did mock it, which is good. All right. I have no predictions today. I predict that Scott Galloway will be a star of my show this weekend. Everybody watch it because Scott is very funny and actually has a lot of serious and significant things to say about healthcare and longevity, and he's really good.
I don't remember that part. I remember falling asleep. I don't remember saying anything substantive.
And you sound great. You sound really good. You actually say a lot of substantive things. Anyway, He looks great, and you get to see him sleep. Anyway, we want to hear from you. Send us your questions about business, tech, or whatever's on your mind. Go to nymag.com/pivot. Submit a question for the show or call 855-51-PIVOT. Elsewhere in the Karen Scott universe this week on Prof G Markets, Scott spoke with Catherine Ann Edwards, PhD economist and Bloomberg News columnist, on why AI is only one factor behind the challenges young workers are facing. Let's listen to a clip.
It's not as if the only thing standing between young workers and a job is what private employers are doing or say they are doing or will do with AI. We have a weak economy and a weak labor market with terrible social supports and almost no investment in people that don't have a job. There are solutions that don't have to come from just knowing more about AI, but have to come from holding our policymakers accountable for economic mismanagement. AI is today's story, but there will be another one. Weakness is weakness in the labor market. We don't have great infrastructure for helping people who don't have a job.
That's 100% right. It's so true. Anyway, She's super smart.
You'd like her.
Anyway, that's the show. Thanks for listening to Pivot. Be sure to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We'll have lots to talk about next week. There's so many topics happening, and we'll be back next week to do so.